We are watching a series of videos where we are doing some interesting data visualization using Tableau. In this video, we are going to see how we can use geolocation charts to aggregate different measures that we want to highlight based on the geolocation. Geolocations are geographical units like country, state, city, pin code, etc. This type of charts have become very popular, especially when you want to depict macroeconomic data like GDP, per capita income, or environment data for different geographies. This data is not economic or environmental data. This is more of a business data. However, this also has geolocation entities. For example, we can see it contains sales data on profit, sales profit, uh, quantity discount, etc. These measures. Uh, and we have geolocation entities like country, city, state, postal code, etc. Whenever you try to aggregate any measure like a sales or a profit against a geographical dimension like a country, state, or city, these geolocation maps are extremely powerful ways of depicting that. There are two standard geolocation maps that are available in Tableau where I'm pointing. One is called a field map, where the area of a geolocation is depicted by the boundaries and the color depicts any measure. Obviously, in such kind of charts, you can depict only one measure. Remember that in any geolocation chart, the dimension has to be a geographical entity. The other one is circle map, where geolocation is depicted by a circle, and the area of the circle can denote one measure, whereas the color of the circle can denote another measure. So in the circle map, I can depict two measures against any geographical dimension. Whereas in the field map, I can depict only one measure against a geographical dimension. Let us now look at what are the geographical dimensions that are of interest in the data set that we have. First of all, the geographical entities that have been identified by Tableau as geographical entities are country, city, state, and postal. If you notice that there is another geographical entity called region, but this has not been identified as a geographical entity. I know that because the data type here is not a geographical entity and it's not shown like a globe, whereas in case of region, it is just a string. The reason we have discussed in one of the earlier videos, region is not a standard geographical entity. If I say north of US, that might mean a certain type of certain states, and there is no standard categorization that these states are north of US or these states are east of US or these states are central US. Depends from organization to organization. That's why we will not be able to plot region in a geolocation map. We need to focus on the other four. As far as this particular data set is concerned, country is not a very useful dimension because all the sales are recorded in US. There's only one country where the sales is recorded. So the chart will not be exciting. It will just show the sales happening in US. The geographical entities that are of use are state, city, and pin code. Now the question is, where should I use a field map and where should I use a circle map? Usually, larger geographical entities which have fixed boundaries like states or countries, field map will be more useful. Whereas smaller geographical entities like city or pin code, which may not have fixed geographical boundaries or they are much smaller in size, their circle maps are more useful. Circle maps have the advantage that you can have two measures depicted in the circle. So we will first create a field map showing sales by state. And then we are going to create a circle map showing sales and profit by city. We create a new sheet. Our dimension here is the state. So we take the state over here. And our measure is sales. Let's put the sales in rows. Doesn't matter what chart it gives by default. We want to have a filled geographical map. So we click on fill geographical map. It may take a little time to convert this to a map, and wait for that till it converts. It has converted, it is identified as a map, but unfortunately we don't see much data over it here. It's just a gray scale map of the world. Why is it so? It is so because you can see here there are 49 unknown. That means it is not able to identify the states. Some of you may not get this error. Some of you may directly see a map, and I'll explain why some of you are seeing the map and some of you are getting the error. Those of you who are getting the error, let us go inside and see how to fix that error. Before that, this is the legend which shows the value of sales in a color scale. Lighter blue is lower sales and the deeper blue is add sales. So this is pretty obvious. So something which is obvious, you don't need to put as a legend. So I can just hide this card. Let's go to this 49 unknown. Click on this 49 unknown and go to this edit location. Now you will see the reason why it has not been able to identify the state, because it's taking the country to be India. It is taking the country to be India because the working locale has been set to India. We explained this in one of our previous videos. This depends on the location that has been entered in your operating system. Now we need to change this to US. There are two ways of changing this to US. I can directly go over here and change the country to United States. But if I do that, probably it will work in this particular case, because in this particular case, all the sales is happening in the US. But it may not work in some other data sets where sales may happen in multiple countries. So this is not a very robust way of changing. Instead, we should say that the country should be taken from a field. So there's a field called country in our table, and the country should be taken from that field. The moment I say the country should be taken from the field, and say OK, you see that beautiful chart comes up where the color shows the sales that is happening in the states. So you can see here that California is having the highest sales. As I mentioned, that you cannot have more than one measure because there are two attributes that can be used. One is the area or the size, and the other is the color. The area or the size has already been taken by the boundary of the state, which cannot be changed. We cannot make the boundary depend on the sales. It's fixed. So the only attribute that is left with us to depict the measure is the color, which you have already depicted for sales. So we can, this kind of fill chart, in this kind of fill chart, we can have only one dimension and one measure, where the dimension needs to be a geographical dimension. Now, if I am not very sure about which states these are, I can take the states into the label. By now, you know the process. I put the states in the label, and the states will come over here. If I want the sales also, the value of sales also to be shown, I can put the sales also in the label. It will show me the value of sales. Suppose I want to show the profit also, because I was not able to show the profit in one of the visualization attributes. I may want to show it as a text, because that's the second best option that I have. There's no other way I can visually depict profit in this chart. So I can put profit also in the label and will show both sales and profit. Now you must be noticing that when I put sales and profit, some of the some of the names of the states are absent. Now it is automatically removed. This is to ensure that there is enough space to write, and Tableau doesn't want to make the chart uh, crowded. And Tableau automatically adjusts to show which states should be shown in the text and which should be missing. However, you can zoom, you can use your mouse to zoom this, and once you zoom this, you will see more and more states will become visible. If you really want all the names to be shown, even in this condition, you can do that. You can go to the label and you can say, allow labels to overlap other ones. That will show all the labels. But as you can see, it has become very clumsy. It is almost impossible to read all of them. So this is not something that is recommended. Let Tableau set this on its own. And if you really want to know the states, you can zoom in and see that. So this is one of the charts which shows sales by states. So I can name the sheet now. Sales by states. I can name the sheet here also. Sales by state. We are done with the first geolocation chart. We'll now go to the second geolocation chart, which is going to be the circle chart. And as we mentioned, that this chart we are going to use for the purpose of those geographical units that are smaller in size and which do not have a fixed geographical boundaries. So let us try cities. So now that we are having a circle, we have two attributes available with us to depict two different measures. So we'll use size to depict sales and color to depict profit. So let us take the city. Doesn't matter whether you put it in columns or rows, because essentially Tableau is going to adjust it after you have provided the input as to what type of chart you require. If you for a moment go back to the previous one, you see that it has automatically adjusted it, where it has given the columns and rows as latitudes and longitudes. So you don't need to put this as latitude and longitude separately. I just put in the states. It has automatically converted that to latitude and longitude, columns and rows. And it has taken the state in the size and sales in the color. And it has taken country also, because it needs to know which country the states belong to. And this we have done when we adjusted the column. And rest of it, it has put in the text. So all of these things, except the text ones, which we manually did, the color and the size, the color and the details, not the size, details is corrected, this details, all of these things Tableau has automatically done. We just had put the columns and the rows. Similarly, here also we'll put it in the columns and rows and let Tableau automatically adjust. So sales over here, and we'll take this chart. Now you see that there are 530 unknowns, except one point is found in Tamil Nadu in India, probably because there is a city in Tamil Nadu which has the same name as a city in US. And that is why it has been able to identify that. But that's not the right city. In this context, we need to change this to US. Before we do that, we don't need this card. We'll hide this card. We'll click on 530 unknown, go to edit location. Again, the country we should be taking from the field like we did last time, country. And once we take the country, the state also we should take from the field state, because there are multiple states within the country, so I cannot specify any specific state. So it will be taken from the state field. Once I say OK, lo and behold, you have a very beautiful circle chart for showing the sales for individual cities. We may slightly make the circles bigger to make the differences more visible. So make the circles a little bigger, make the difference visible. Color attribute is not being used over here. So we are now going to use the color attribute to depict profit. So what will I do? I will take the profit over here and put it into color. And lo and behold, here comes a very beautiful chart where the size of the circle indicates the sale and the color of the circle indicates the profit. We don't need this legend because it's pretty obvious. We will change the color palette from blue, orange to red, green, where red is bad. That's how normally people perceive. Red means bad, which means if it's a low profit, it is red. If it's a high profit, it's green. So I'll change it to red, green, diverging. And very interesting chart. And this chart can actually give you a lot of insights because you can see the city of Houston is a reasonable in terms of sales. It is making reasonable performance in sales, but they are doing badly in terms of profit. Similarly, if you look at this, which is Philadelphia, it is again doing good in sales, but doing badly in profit. These are usually the focus areas of the management. Management always tries to find out exceptions. Management, that's called management by exception. It normally will not bother too much about things that are going right. They are going to bother about things that are going wrong. And the purpose of visualization is to bring out those exceptions clearly. So this clearly shows the exception. There are positive exceptions also. For example, New York City seems to be good in terms of sales as well as profit. So is these cities, Los Angeles and San Francisco, but there are other cities where profit seems to be really bad. And that's probably what the management is going to focus on. So this helps you to understand how you can use these geolocation maps to visualize different measures that can be aggregated across geographical locations.